All right, welcome everybody. We are here for B483, Group 3. We are talking about the Buzz case. Starting with, well, I guess, does anybody have any spiritual thoughts they'd like to share? Or are we all good
Oh,
and ready to jump in?
I've got one. I've got one right
Awesome.
here. Okay, so I've been reading about the Savior, and I think I've had some missionary discussions this week with some people, but I think I love the part when the Savior gives his priesthood authority to Peter. And then again, he also gave that authority to Joseph Smith by John the Baptist gave him the priesthood. But one thing that I loved in my reading this week was the scripture in Mark chapter 9, verse 23. And it says, all things are possible if we believe in Christ. And so I think like as we get through our schoolwork and everything that we have loaded on us, as we have Christ, because we believe in him, all things are possible. And so anyway, there you go.
No, I appreciate it for sharing. I totally agree with that. All right, so the first question is what does BzzAgent do and what needs is being met?
We do word of mouth advertising.
Correct. What needs is being met through the word of mouth advertising?
The ability to kind of relate is the most real marketing. It's being really credible marketing. So it's like not consultative, but like when you get a recommendation, somebody recommends you to go somewhere, you're much more likely than if you just saw an ad on the TV. So it's just more like the real thing.
It's more credible. Like I think we take.
That's what I'm looking at. That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah, we take like David. If you were to tell me something, if you were to say, "Oh, do this," I would take your advice because we look at our friends and we think they're so credible, and so we look to them for their opinions.
So in other words, as far as business majors go, it pretty much created a new niche. It didn't like reinvent the wheel, but instead it came up with a modern today's society of the way things are getting accepted and the way things actually express and move a lot faster. I mean, back in the day, when TV was new, everybody's excited. They used to, watch commercials, would be. Now, in today's world, we have a much faster way of generating, exchanging information. And he found that niche. He's like, well, I've been in this market forever. I'm going to strengthen this new niche. And voila, it turned out word of mouth. Because, like you said, everybody else really relies on other people for feedback. Anytime that you need to get a certain product, the first thing you do is you ask your family and friends, or an individual that knows more about that particular market. So that was a great idea. It said, what makes Buzz agents successful? Well, actually, I skipped the question. It said, what about the product market fit? Have they demonstrated demand they can profitably serve? And then the other question was, what makes Buzz Agent successful?
I think, didn't they talk about the way that they kind of structured? Sorry, I was trying to find the paper where I put my notes. I don't know where it went. Anyway, so they were kind of talking about the way that they structured the actual agents and how they gave them like an actual kit on how to collect the information for them, so they weren't just sending them out without any instructions. So I thought that was really impressive how they actually really planned out how they wanted to get the information they wanted to get.
I like that they targeted. They had targeted clients. So they knew who they were going to target. And that was one of the things that made them successful.
So how did they measure the buzz agents for them to actually do their job and actually pay them accordingly? Like, how do they measure their success?
Didn't they keep like a log of people that they like, that they were, was it like that gave them feedback or something like that? Wasn't that them?
Yeah, they pretty much had to write a report.
Yeah, okay. Sorry, I've read so many cases this week and I'm trying to
Oh,
figure it out.
we've all agreed we're all starting to get burned out, and we're glad it's the midterm almost.
They're all starting to
Yeah.
meld together. Okay,
But,
cool.
says, as a group, pull out of the case and discuss Table A, the exhibit. Take your time as you work through the following questions. How profitable is agent, or how profitable is buzz agent? So let's go ahead and open up the case, and you can scroll down to the third exhibit. Where is it
Yeah,
at?
I thought you wanted table A.
Yeah, Table A, Exhibit 5 is what it is. So Table A is on page 5, where it talks about the fees and the direct costs. And so this is the campaign that I think runs for 12 weeks. So this is what I guess they were this is what they were charging each customer, and this is kind of their operating expense, and then this is how they became profitable for every advertisement that was running. So what kind of thoughts do you have on that? And there's one other question that says, calculate the growth rate from the beginning of 2002 to the end of 2004, and from the beginning of 2002 to the end of 2006. How do you determine the growth rate? Which growth rate should be on Exhibit 1, Exhibit 2, Exhibit 3. It's a huge list there. All right. All right, so the first part is we're talking about Table A and Exhibit 5. So the first one is Table A will tell you how profitable they are per each campaign, which they're bringing in a profit margin of 25% after all expenses paid. So how profitable is 25% to you?
Well, it depends on how much money you, how many accounts you have.
Well, is there like a standard of profitability?
Let's see.
All right, so Table A will tell you if you were, per each customer you have, this is what you would charge them. You charge them $220,000 to run for 12 weeks. And then after the direct costs of the creativity, the copies, the printing, the shipping, and the actual product, it says that your approximate gross profit is $155,000, which is a gross margin of $70,000 or 70%. And then your operating expense of staff and G&A, probably something to do with administration or whatever, it was totaling 100,000. So then your actual profit, walkaway profit, is $55,000, which in a margin of 25% in most business, that is slightly above the fair market, because most businesses usually settle between 18 to mid 20s for profit margin. I know when I was working in the Pepsi industry, a lot of our product actually sold between 18 and no more than 30% profit margin. Now, you got to imagine, wholesalers, they got to make a profit. The distributors, they got to make a profit. And then the retailers, they got to make a profit. So that particular product was marked up 3 times. And so if everybody's making their 20% markup, then the actual cost of the product to make was significantly a lot less. So in this case, 25% is really, really well for marketing strategy. Now, if you scroll all the way down to like page 19, it will talk about the actual numbers in Exhibit 5 that we can really get more excited in, because I know you guys love talking numbers.
We do.
I'm going to
How
tell
did
you
you know,
something,
Jordan?
Jordan, I want you to remember the saying, but you got to say it like this. The number, she is the number, and the number does not lie. Hello there, Jordan.
I can't say that first half.
The
The numbers don't
number is the
lie.
number, and the number does not lie.
What?
The numbers don't lie.
This is what a guy who was a big VC guy told me. He's like, David,
All right,
come on, let me tell you. The number is the number, and the number does not lie.
Oh, the number is the number, and the number does not lie. That's funny. That's cute. That's what some teachers say to you about your grades.
Is yours like a big?
Liabilities and capital.
Hello on a blanket.
How do you flip the pages in the PDF?
All right.
You click on it.
Assets equals liability and common.
Rotate.
Well, the spreadsheet's equal.
Thank goodness. I've been trying to look at it the other way.
Where's balance sheet? 05 to 04.
The balance sheet is in page 19.
It's the second page of the Exhibit 5.
The income statement is on page 20.
Yeah, so you're looking at 20 instead of page 19, and we're getting the difference between 2004 and 2005 as in a form of a percentage to know what the growth rate is. So total cost of revenue.
Can we talk about this Excel sheet we did? Is that what we're going to do today or no?
It's part of the question here is just to see the growth rate. You just want to see what the percentage is, which if you go down to the next one on page 21, it'll tell you what your margins are. Because really it just wants to talk about how rapid they're growing. I mean, in 2004, their operating margin was 11.74%, and then within the next year, within 12 months, they were able to exceedingly double that to 27.75%. So, I mean, it's pretty impressive to be able to go from 11 to 27 in just 12 months. But then their forecast, they're expecting to go even beyond that, between 24 and 26%. So, talking business here. Is that good growth or no?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it is.
It is.
I mean, it shows a tremendous spike in 2005, but then it kind of
But
doesn't
what was
gain
the reason for
near.
this huge spike in 2005?
So what?
What was the reason why it went up so high in 2005?
I think in 2005, the reason it went from 11% to 27% is I think that's when they did their first series, not considered the seed, but that's when they did their Series A investment, and that's how they generated a lot more. Because to my understanding is he got money, but he didn't count that as a seed round, and then the second time that he got money, he was permanently thinking it was a seed account, when really it was like it was a larger account that it was kind of like a Series A. So that kind of makes sense? Or am I talking them different? Because I'm pretty sure this is what I read, that they're financially booming, they're making profit, and
I mean,
then
the only thing that concerns me is that we're looking at these numbers and it's like, oh yeah, they made like all this profit, but did they really, or is it just the way that they're like, that you're saying that they're allocating like the money to really?
Well, think about
And
this. So with them getting more money, they're able to go out and get more clients too. Because a lot of times, when you get a client, sometimes you have to have upfront costs and stuff like that. They're able to expand. If you look at their liabilities, well, let's see, their capital went up from 201,508, and then just in 2005 they have 3,763 $3.7 million.
well, if you're willing to do business with someone, are you willing to do somebody or a business like big money, talking millions, with somebody that they actually have reserves, or they actually have the funding to support your ads, versus somebody that's just kind of desperate enough for money that they're willing to take on anything, and then you may or may not get the ad that you're really paying for?
Yeah. Well, the other thing is that like if you look at the table B, before they got the venture capital, they were actually able to grow their money at a much higher rate. So 17% after, 8% before that, the option pool. They just everything was better.
All right, we're almost touching base on this. How satisfied are you with revenue growth?
I'm satisfied.
How satisfied are you with operating margins?
25% is a good margin, especially when your product is, you're not having to manufacture product, right? It's labor. So I think that's a very good margin.
Well, the larger your margin, the more you have to move around and the more you can do with your business.
I think it's almost like a snowball effect too. Like once they get really big and the word of mouth gets out, it's gonna grow like a snowball.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing is that some businesses you can have a bigger margin. Thing is there's only so much that you can do when it comes to advertising. So I don't know that you can have a much bigger margin in advertising unless you control everything about that advertising. If it's conventional advertising and you're a radio station and you own the advertising, um, the marketing firm. But this isn't that way. I mean, these guys, it's word of mouth, and they have to hire the agents to do it. But I think the marketing's good for what they're doing.
All right. If BzzAgent is growing and profitable, why are they raising money now?
Well, actually, what it said in the case was that what they really wanted was the expertise from these other businesses. That was the most important thing, more than the money.
So they don't need money to grow. They don't really need money. All they're looking for is really experienced individuals that can really bring it to the next level.
That's right.
Because they feel that they're still making money and they haven't peaked out yet, but they don't want to plateau. They don't want to flatten out. They want to keep bringing it on. So can they succeed without a venture capital funds?
Yes.
Everybody
Yes.
agree? All
Yeah.
right. What roles does timing play in this decision? What roles does time?
Well, I think they have to hit while it's hot. Like, you know, I don't think I would wait around.
So rather than the traditional way of pretty much presenting, hey, we want your money, and then they, you know, well, if you want my money, this is my deal, take it or leave it. They've gone the unconventional way. They say, look, I'm hot stuff, we're making great progress, and if you want to jump on this money train, these are my terms. Which one of you guys really want to be partners with me? So how much money does agent or BzzAgent need?
Well, they were looking for $40 million, but they really only needed 20, but they figured they would ask for more.
Before I interrupted, Patricia, did you have a thought about the previous before I jumped into the question?
No, I agree with David.
Okay.
I concur, David.
All right. So then when we opened up the spreadsheet and we did the compare analysis between the 40 million and the 50 million, it says, how do the growth expectations affect your view on which term sheet is more favorable to management? So looking at your capitalization table, what were your thoughts?
Well, you give more ownership. If you go with what the VC is asking, you give more ownership. Give 23% to them versus 20% under BzzAgent's term sheet.
So if it's only a 20 and 23, what's the big deal between the 3.1%? What's 3% over your whole company? Is it worth debating over 3%?
Yes.
Is it worth 3% to get the extra 15 million to bring your company to a post-money value of 65 million instead of just 50?
Yes.
Why?
I feel like I've already talked enough, Jordan. I feel like you probably need to talk a little bit more.
Well, I want to give everybody else the option before I hash out the numbers here. Emily, any comments?
This is the thing. The post-money valuation is an additional 15 million. So their company is going to be worth 15 million more.
Okay. All right. So the next step below that is that 3.1% is only for the Series B relationship. It doesn't really talk about the current stock holds. So if you look at the bottom one, is you're significantly going from you being the current stockholder holding it at 72% to now giving it up to 59.9. So you're, instead of that 3%, you're really giving up 20% or 12% of your actual shares. But then you're also going from 8% in the option pool to 17%, which just gives them, instead of the 8%, they now have like the additional, 9% that they can buy and take even more of your company. So, yeah, the Series B, they were going to get that 3.1% instantly, but then they have an opportunity to buy even more of your company, and you're still going to be sitting at 60%. So then, how would you like to give up 40% of your business?
I wouldn't.
I was going to say that changed my. When I first looked at the 3.1%, I didn't think much of it, especially with a $15,000 or $15 million gain. But when I actually started looking into in terms of stocks. As your stocks grow per, whatever the dollar value is, that we're talking a tremendous amount of money. I mean, we're talking in terms of going from 7 million to 9 million.
Mm-hmm. But the Series B investor, would get 2.113 700 shares, versus 1.4, under BzzAgent's term. So it's a big difference in the amount of shares that the VC would get.
Yeah, that 3.1 really went from 1.4 million to 2.1. That's huge. Well, I've never had $1 million, so I'm thinking anything $1 million is just like ridiculously large.
Right.
But in terms of share pricing, they're only off by a penny.
Right. I mean, it looks like it's a totally acceptable thing, but when you look at how big of a difference it is, you have to do that evaluation in the number.
Well,
We're
even
on
that,
step 3 right now on the capitalization table.
well, the only reason why your price per share are very equal is in consideration that there is a lot more shares offered to the VC, and that's why it's kind of diluting your price per your share. So in your terms, you're only giving out a total of 7 million shares, whereas in the venture capitalist terms, they're putting out 9.2 million shares. And so, yeah, you generate more money, but it also dilutes the money value, and that's why both the price per share is very equal.
Right.
Let's see. Trying to plow through. We're like almost halfway through the questions. Actually, I think we're a little more than half. So after looking at the capitalization table, if there are differences or questions about numbers, help each other. So do you guys feel pretty confident and comfortable with your Excel spreadsheet?
Yeah.
You don't have any questions on that? Okay. Why is the price per share? I think we kind of highlighted that, unless you want to talk. Which number is more important to you as a founder? Looking at your capitalization table.
Well, it's going to be total shares, right? So, well, I mean, you got to. It's.
As an owner, you want to hold more percentage of your company.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and you want to look at the value of your shares compared to the values after the venture capital deal. So if you're going to have more percentage, it's going to mean more money to you, then you want to pick the best deal for that.
So it's not about the post-money valuation. It's more so about the percentage of stock shareholders, correct?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If you were a Series A investor, which number would be more important to you?
I would want to get more of a percentage. I would value the VC one because it's a better deal for me as an investor.
Well, being a Series A investor, you already are a part of the current shareholder. And then when Series B comes in, they're going to take between 20 and 23% of that total shares.
Mm-hmm.
So it's better to be the Series A investor only.
Well, what I'm saying is if
better
you're
be on BzzAgent's term, on their terms, if you're a Series A investor. So you would want their terms rather than the VC, because the VC comes in and takes more of the shares, a greater percentage of those shares, and that dilutes your shares.
I agree with you. You wouldn't want to have some big dog come in and buy out more of your percentage. It makes you more grumpy, especially when we're talking about later in the case, he discussed about before signing the Series B investment, he's going to distribute approximately almost $3 million to the current shareholders. Does anybody know what that number figure is?
What's the question one more time?
So the question is just asking, so towards the end of the case study, the founder says, hey, as a reward, I'm going to give out almost up to $3 million according to a percentage to all the current stockholders. And so the question is trying to simplify it. Does anybody configure the numbers to know exactly how much is going to who for the total of the $3 million?
I didn't. Not yet.
I think it was just kind of an add-on, like a bonus, because he's talking about $3 million, and he's talking that the founders is going to get 39% of the $3 million. The other common stocks are going to get 30% of it, and he is going to give 8% to optional grant and warrants, and then he's going to hold out 10% for available option pool, and then the Series A preferred stocks is holding 12%. So how do you feel about that being the Series B, that just before you give the company money, he's giving away $3 million back towards the stock shareholders? Does that make a better deal or a worse deal? Would you want to see the company that you're investing giving money away?
So if you're giving somebody a loan, no, you obviously wouldn't want somebody to give like the money away if they're not putting in so that you can get something out of it, right?
I mean, people might be discouraged, as like you're asking for money and yet you're giving money away. However, on the other coin, that just shows that if you invest with that company as that company grows, just what kind of return are you going to get?
Would them giving that money out, would that get them out? Would that dilute their ownership?
No, it's not buying back shares by any means. It's a what do you call it? A deficit?
A dividend.
A dividend. Yeah, it's a dividend pretty much. They're awarding a dividend, even though it's not scheduled, or because right now the contract shows that they're not required to give a dividend, but because the company is doing so well, they're choosing to reward all the stockholders with this dividend of $3 million.
Well, technically, you wouldn't want them to give out a dividend if you're just trying to make as much money as you can, right? Because they're like.
But I think as a dividend, that's just rewarding people who invested with them, and it's kind of part of like sharing the wealth. And so, like, as an investor, you do want to invest with a company that's going to send out dividends. I would rather invest with a company that sends out a reward for investing with them, because it's kind of like even though your stock is going up, but also a dividend is kind of like a bonus.
You give me a couple of thousand, I turn that couple of thousand to 100,000, and I'm going to reward you by giving you like double your return, like another $10,000 on top of what you originally gave me, but you still hold your shares.
Yeah, and it's an incentive to invest with them more. And so, like, to stay with their company, it's a rewarding them for being an investor in the beginning as well, because like in the beginning when they first start up and everything, it's hard to get investors. And so I think that it shows their appreciation to their investors by giving them a dividend.
Okay, pretty much the last and final question is kind of a big multi-question. Did you guys take a chance to read the BzzAgent Case discussion B?
No.
Because this whole ordeal is they sent out pretty much 11 offers to venture capitalists, and then they narrowed it down to pretty much 3 firms that he compiled into his list of, high standards to low standards, correct? Pretty much the last question I wanted to talk about, between those 3 firms, what choice would you go with? And the pretty much agent case, or the BzzAgent Case discussion B, threw in an additional firm and kind of changed the point of view of who would you partner up as a venture capitalist. Firm A, firm B, firm C, and of course in this one, firm D now. So before we jump into B, what firm were you choosing? Because when you go through the Excel questionnaires, it will pretty much ask you a lot of questions on which firm did you choose and why.
I liked the last firm that wrote up, exactly kind of what their game plan was, who they would put on the board, and really, even though they weren't as well known as that, I forget the East to the West, but the A or the B, it just seems like they were the ones who were the most willing to really get in there, work with them, and actually provide the value that BzzAgent was actually looking for.
That's pretty good reasoning. Anyone else wants to share why they would choose which firm? So Firm A was a big East Coast company that's willing to throw big money into big companies, but the only problem is they don't have a track record. They're fairly new. B, they're a little bit more old school. They've been around for 20 years. Let's see. They're on the West Coast.
Yeah, they didn't have offices near.
I was going to say they're on the West Coast. They've been in business for 20 years. They're a little bit more, instead of aggressive, they're a little bit more conservative now. But because they're old, they're not necessarily in the new networking stage. And then 3, they're firm C. They've also been in business for 20 years, but they had an office in the East and the West Coast. And it was firm B that countered their offer by offering them more money on their terms.
Yeah, I like the fact that they offered more money on their terms, and I think that I like the fact that they are able to kind of pick and choose what firm they want to go with. They have more options. They don't have to be stuck with one or the other.
So were you more in favor of firm B out of the applicants?
I am, because they gave them a better deal.
What do you think, Emily?
Yeah.
A, B, or C? B? I was in favor of C because I am more in favor of the buzz applicant. So rather than the counter of taking more money, because we don't need money, we need expertise. And C has been in business for 20 years, but the difference is they actually offer firms in both Boston area and the Silicon Valley, so that expands the area, which would also expand the potential customers, clients, different market niches, without having to give up more of a percentage of your company. So I guess if nobody's read the firm's firm D. So firm D, pretty much I'll give you the quick rundown on the case discussion B. It's the same 3 firms plus the additional firm. The additional firm is you have 2 least experienced individuals, but they have big money and they're willing to invest in new technology, and so they're really strong in like the social networking. But then you got the other 2 firms that have been for over 20 plus years, and they cover a wider area. Are you going to go with quick development and technology and the way that they can reach networks and different markets, or are you going to go with reliability and more of an old school fashioned way of larger areas?
I think I'm going to go with the newer one because I think that the market has changed and I think it's a different market.
That is a very good perspective and point. Foundation is off the older generation, and now that this is a new turn for this turn age, I would agree. I would pick a firm that is relatively high on technology, but I would still pick somebody that wouldn't agree upon to counter my offer, because once again, we're not in it for the money, we're in it for the experience. So,
but I think with a new, the thing is that really the whole premise on this company is that it's a newer way of marketing. It's newer. So a company that has like more experience is going to be an older form of marketing. And so that's why I think a younger, newer, more technology savvy company, because BuzzFeed is working on technology. It's a different type. So I don't know. That's my opinion.
all right. Well, it looks like it says create one Word document for your group to state your decision and explain your reasoning. One person will use the BzzAgent decision agreement to submit the group's decision. Yikes. So apparently we got to now decide and explain in a Word document that we're going to submit. And I'm not a very fast typer. Who would like to type that?
Well, so as a group, what are we going to do?
So it says, now as a group, read the Raising Capital at BzzAgent Case, which I've read it and lightly discussed it with you. And then as a group, decide which offer you would take, and then create a one-word document for your group to state your decision and explain your reasoning. So I think it only needs to be like one paragraph or two, just saying we would take firm A, B, C, or D, and why.
Which one did we decide on?
Well, case C, I will read the firms real quick. Firm A was recently established East Coast seed and early stage investors founded by a team of experienced entrepreneurs and investors. The firm prided itself on being an active investor and bringing deep resources to its portfolio companies through the experience and perspective of former entrepreneurs that made up much of the investment team. The lead partner of the transaction at Firm A was extremely knowledgeable about the consumer technology industry and was enthusiastic about the deal, which would be one of his first investments as a venture investor. In keeping with the firm's mission, he promised to be very involved and as helpful as he could be. He had previously worked for one of the companies that the chairman founded and was known and trusted. Balter and Calivan felt a strong connection with the general partners of Firm A and believed that they would be helpful in managing through the difficult issues that arose at the board level. Describing Firm A as the kindest of the firms they met with, Balter noted that Firm A had been honest, direct, and respectful of his time throughout their interaction, and he was hopeful they would continue in that style if they were to invest. The one area that Balter was not able to rate Firm A highly on was the coach, partly due to the fact that it had been launched only a few years before and had yet to develop credibility track record. Firm B, while also fairly new in venture capital market, had quickly established itself as a major player with a strong with a string of early success and was in the process of raising its fourth funds. Based in Boston, the firm brought significant name recognition and showed promise as an investor that could help Walter execute on his vision for the company. He was particularly impressed with the emphasis of technology companies seeking to transform entire industry, although it was clear that BzzAgent would be somewhat outside the scope of their current industry focus. Firm B has passed on Balcher's previous business and was very hopeful that he could win their backing this time. Although the lead partner was very excited about the business, there were other partners who were concerned about the process and validation of the business. A few months before the process started, the firm had approached BzzAgent with an unsolicited term sheet. Validation offered had been approximately half of what BzzAgent currently proposed. As an East Coast firm, there were many social and professional connections between the partners of this firm and chairman. At one early meeting, one of the partners berated about the highly unusual process he had initiated. The partner also seemed distracted by their own funding efforts, and Balter worried about his ability to garner their attention in the future, as demands on their time were not likely to improve after closing their last fund.
I got an idea. How about if I write it up and send it over to you guys like tomorrow night?
It's just like one project. It wouldn't take very long to just agree on a firm.
Okay.
I mean, we just got to say we're going to pick this firm and why, and it would only take like one paragraph or two.
Okay.
We just gotta each come up with the validation of why we would pick them. So the first two, they're very young, they're startups. Obviously, I'm still leaning towards A out of the first two.
I want to go A too.
They showed a greater interest, but the other two are the guys that've been around for longer.
I think I love A. What do you like?
But the reason why I like A is because they know them and they're trusted. They're involved, they're helpful, they're into technology, they're young, they're going to know, like, they're going to have more of a handle on what the young crowd wants.
Well, it says Firm C has been around for 20 years. They've been through several business cycles, through the good, the bad, and the ugly. Their network developed through decades of experience. Well-suited to resource its portfolios. I was going to say his concern for C is whether they truly understood the market, which we can say that. And then C was they've also been for 20 years, but they had substantial reach within the technology community, and they have an extensive track record. However, they maintained a fairly low profile. Firm D has been the most responsive firm throughout the process, going out of their way to offer advice, and introductions came from their deep domain enterprise. The firm produced a 60-page document outlining everything that they could do for BzzAgents and
that was
offered.
The one that wasn't C. I like D.
Yeah, I like C.
All right, let's just all choose on D. Who would like to quickly type that up? I'm a slow typer.
Okay.
Or I guess I can. It don't matter. Whoever types faster than me.
What are we going with?
We're going to go with Firm D.
B or D?
D as in dog.
D as in dog. Okay. Okay. So what are the reasons? And I can type it up.
They have been in business for over 20 years, and they have a substantial reach within the technology community.
So a 20-year track record, a substantial reach, within the community, within the community, marketing community.
They show the greatest interest by putting forth the effort to type up a 60-page document showing how
they can
useful.
help.
I was going to say,
their usefulness.
well, I mean, pretty much it's a written up contract, whereas everybody else is making all these verbal commitments. They're actually willing to write it up and, stick to it.
Okay.
I think, if you get a written statement, then people are more likely to uphold and do that rather than, well, yeah, I'm just going to tell you what you want to hear and then not actually being invested or actually
Well, the other thing is that other people may say they're ready, but these people are going, they're going for it. They're all in. They're all in.
It says they didn't quite feel a strong connection with the lead partner, but I think we can kind of get away from that because we're not necessarily just about the lead partner, but the whole venture capital firm. I was going to say that's one of the cons is, yes, they got good experience, yes, but their leader doesn't seem to be near as involved. Like, I mean, they apply themselves to get the most attention, but the direct leader, I don't think you're going to be calling him on a weekly basis. I think if you had a once in a while question, you can still connect to somebody within the organization.
It takes a while for people to warm up.
I agree. You don't open it up to yourself the very first couple times that you meet people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, so I need to write it up.
Yeah. So it just needs to be typed up like group 3. We've all decided on firm B or firm D because of these reasons, and then we're good.
Okay, I'm typing it up right now.
Yep. It says create one Word document for the group to state their decision and explain your reasonings. And then one person will use the BzzAgent decision assignment to submit your group's decision to the instructor.
Okay, so group 3.
And try to include each of our name underneath of it or however you need to format it. And then we can call it a night and you guys can do what you need to do. Sorry for dragging it out. They just had a lot of extensive questions.
No.
Okay, and I'll put all of our names on there.
All right. Well, that pretty much ends up everything as long as you feel confident and got that document ready, and then.
Yeah, I'm working on it right now.
Well, no, what I mean is do you have any more questions for us? Or do you feel like you have enough to complete a paragraph, like 3 or 4 sentences?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay.
I already took notes.
I know you're awesome at taking notes. I'm just saying if it was me typing up, I'd be like, now what was that again? What was that again?
So I said our group has decided to go with in the investor D. Is a name besides the investors from group D?
Firm D.
From firm D.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, Jordan, what's your last name?
Anderson with a S-O-N. So Jordan.
Emily, what's your last name?
It's Garcia.
Garcia.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, got it.